on the issues of Apower. If there is interest that someone has on the issues of Apower, on the land of Apower, it should come out clearly. As the people of Acholi, we have lived with our neighbors, the Madi, for a long time, for centuries, without any chaos, without any problem. But the issues of Apower is not being settled. If the minister is stating before Parliament today that there is calm in Apower, it is a big shame. People are dying. So far, we have lost 21 people. So far, people are being arrested. They are languishing in prison. Then for the minister to come before Parliament and say there is calm in Apower, we are embarrassed. Right, Honorable Speaker, I request that the minister should go back and come back with authentic information if we are to debate it in a sober way. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister, this report this question was raised some time back. Honorable Minister, this question was raised some time back. I am even happy that you commented that the thing has has taken time in the order paper. Is it possible for us to get the current status of what is happening in Apower? Because if we had the current status, maybe from the time that this report was, the question was asked, maybe something else has happened. So can we have a current status to the effect on what is happening in Apower? And the leaders of that area, why don't you take an initiative to go with the minister on ground? Go with the minister, but don't fight on ground like the massacre team fought. Because we are now debating what we don't know. This side is saying there is a problem, but the minister is saying things have been calmed down. So, Minister, can you go on ground? Members,
clarification, Madam Speaker.
We are getting a solution.
Solution, Madam.
We are getting a solution to this.
Clarification, Madam Speaker.
I want the minister to go on ground plus the leaders. You go on ground and come with an authenticated report.
Much obliged, Madam Speaker. I was reporting on what I investigated then and the steps the government has taken. But I take your advice. I can go back and investigate and make a report about the current situation.
Procedure. Clarification, Madam.
Procedure, and you need
Procedure,
to,
Madam Speaker. Procedure.
You need to go on ground with the leaders.
Procedure, Madam Speaker.
You need to nation. And you are the same person who is raising on a procedural matter. So which is which?
Madam Speaker, what I knew is that UPDF deployed a special unit in Apower to control situation. If it has changed, I'm going to check and I can go with the leaders. We make on the spot assessment of the situation and report back to this House. Report back to this House in 1 week on the status of Apower, security-wise, not on who owns the land.
Much obliged.
We want on the status of the security, on the lives of the people.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you. I had the benefit of having been part of the 10th Parliament where these issues started. And at some stage they were so emotive even here on the floor. And honourable members, we are choosing each other of involvement. and crass partisanship in this subject matter. Mr. Speaker, with due respect to the good general, I am not convinced with a solution that government is evolving of a judicial commission to determine. Mr. Speaker, my sense is that General Muhwezi does not have at the moment. It's unsatisfactory, and but if the Speaker is convinced, I have nothing useful to add. But in the circumstances, I am doubtful as to his statement, and all of us must be ashamed. At some stage, deaths were reported from Apower. Before we talk about him going back with the leaders, is he being truthful in what government decided? Do you have a record of that submitted for the record of Parliament? I have tried to look at his statement. It looked like an SC-generated statement, not really one generated with consensus. I do not see the voices of the leaders in that statement. I might be dead wrong, Right Honourable Speaker, and the Honourable Minister is here to rule me out of context, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Lope, the question was on government action to calm the situation of Apower village, arising from insecurity caused by bow and arrow wielding persons from Ajuman. There is nothing that was talked about the boundary. And what I have asked the Honourable Minister is to come with a report on what the question was. There is, and he has understood. We have given him 1 week. So I don't see any problem, really. And you've accepted in 1 week, you will be here.
Right Honourable Speaker, and in answer to my friend, the leader of opposition, the question was about insecurity at that time. And I actually could have stopped at what steps were taken, stop the arrow and bow people who were causing insecurity.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
However, I elected to give more information, which if you don't want, I can withdraw and stick to the security matters
Members don't
alone.
pick the phone when a colleague is talking.
So, Right Honourable Speaker, I was saying that I could have stopped at what steps we took, which were that UPDF deployed a unit to make sure that there is law and order in the area. And I accept that we are going to check and get the latest status and report back to Parliament.
You see why members are commenting, because you hinted on the ownership. So don't go beyond what you were asked. You hinted on the ownership, and that is where issues are coming from. So ours is on security. Ours is on security. We need security in the area, and give us a feedback. I can see Jessica is dying to talk. You will go on ground with the minister. Jane, you will go on ground with the minister and report to this house. Is that Jane? I thought I'd ruled on that issue. Yes, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising in relation to what we have just concluded about is the fatigue and the negative effects we are going through because of unresolved issues surrounding Apower. Right Honourable Speaker, as I agree with you that the minister's reports will be only related to the security matters, But, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, unless issues about where APA is concluded, there will be no peace. Because people will still keep fighting over this same piece of land. Therefore, in order to resolve this matter, let the location be affirmed. That will be one of the solutions.
Order, order, order.
She's on a procedure.
Order.
She's on a procedure matter, law, former law. She's on a procedure matter.
Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Jessica Ababiku, the woman MP of Ajuman. For now, don't take us onto the boundary issues. We'll ask the Minister of Lands and other inter-ministerial departments to sort that out. Come up with your own motion to that effect. This was a question on the security matters. Members, we have members in the gallery, distinguished strangers in the gallery. This afternoon, we have a delegation of staff from the Parliament of Malawi. We have Mr. Leonard Tiligamawa. He's a Chief Research Officer in the Parliament of Malawi. Leonard, you're most welcome. This is Parliament of Uganda. Welcome. We have Deborah, Miss Deborah, the Senior Research Officer. Deborah, you're welcome. And then we have Miss Sokosani, a librarian. You're most welcome. And thank you for joining us. And we join you, members, join me in welcoming the members. They are here to observe our proceedings. Thank you.
Item number 3, statement by Minister on the inconvenience suffered by arriving passengers at Entebbe International Airport while awaiting results of their mandatory COVID-19 test.
What? Statement by Minister on what?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to appreciate you for requesting me to present to this august House what is happening at Entebbe International Airport. As many of you may recall, we had been testing incoming travelers with support from the private sector. The testing, which was at Pino Beach, started in the month of May 2021 up to 21st October 2021. Then it covered 10 countries categorized as high risk. And the categorization had taken into consideration the presence of variants of concern, high rates of transmission of the disease, the number of deaths reported, and vaccination coverage of at least 60%. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, at a cabinet sitting on the 13th of September 2021, a decision was taken that government should carry out mandatory testing of all incoming travelers at their own cost of $30 at Entebbe International Airport and all other points of entry as a means of preventing importation of new variants into the country. In preparation for this, the Ministry of Health, under the guidance of the Right Honorable Prime Minister, and with support from the Ministry of Finance, Civil Aviation Authority, National Planning Authority, Post Bank, NITA-U, the UPDF brigade, we set up sample collection facilities, testing laboratories, client flow processes, online payment systems, and all the necessary infrastructure at Entebbe International Airport to facilitate mandatory COVID-19 testing. Categorized testing of the original 10 countries began on the 22nd of October, following the official launch of the testing facility by His Excellency the President. However, mandatory testing commenced at 9 a.m. on the 27th of October 2021, when the 48-hour international no-term requirement had matured. However, like any new intervention, the procedure faced some challenges, which a few sections of the media portrayed as messages of frustration from passengers who experienced delays as they went through the various processes. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, with this feedback from the passengers, we responded promptly. We have been visiting the airport to understand the issues, put in place mitigation measures. And allow me to state here that the entire team, UPDF Brigade, Civil Aviation Authority, NITA-U, Post Bank, National Planning Authority, and all other stakeholders are still at the airport. The challenges identified included the following. One, the results dispatch system. This was cited as the biggest challenge, which inconvenienced travelers. Travelers were not able to access their results, which were being printed and read out manually. The public address system is not audible, and there is congestion at the results dispatch desk. The above challenges have since been resolved as follows. Results will no longer be given out manually, but through an online system, which includes emails, WhatsApp messages, and display of names on the available screens mounted on the walls for those who do not have smartphones or laptops. Results will be linked to passports or travel documents to enable quick scanning and verification. Adequate portals for charging of electronics will immediately be made available to support those who run out of battery during the flight. Free Wi-Fi has been made available. However, the internet remains weak and is affecting operations. Exit is to be made easier through scanning of the QR codes using tablets, and the waiting area to be beefed up with additional ushers to support comfortable seating of passengers. The turnaround time for results remains between 45 minutes if your result is run on GeneXpert machine, to 2 hours if your result is run on other PCR tests. The other issue was communication. The airport infrastructure in the new terminal does not favor the use of the public address system, and communication through the numerous screens mounted on the wall is currently ongoing, where we are displaying names, but also giving information. And in addition, we have 5 public relations officers to support communication. The other issue was the challenge with online registration and payment. The former link was not working. A new updated link for online registration has been shared and publicized through communication channels, including Civil Aviation and Ministry of Health websites. All incoming travelers are required to fill this form and pay online to quicken the process of sample removal, testing, and receiving results upon arrival. Once the form has been completed, a QR code is generated, and the traveler is required to show this code to the sample removal at the point of sample collection. An online payment system has been activated to enable travelers pay via credit or debit card or mobile money. Those unable to use any of these options can pay upon arrival using Uganda shillings. All travelers are requested to provide their phone numbers or not go through the system. They register with the Uganda Tourism Board. They are identified upon arrival. They have separate booths and allowed to continue to their hotels in Entebbe, where they wait for their results before proceeding to their designated destinations. Their results are shared via email, and in the event a tourist tests positive for COVID-19, they are isolated in their designated hotels at their own costs. After 7 days, they are tested again for free at a government laboratory. Travelers who test positive are notified by the Ministry of Health surveillance team and are transferred either to a public or a private isolation facility, depending on the preference of the traveler. Those who opt for private facilities meet their own costs of treatment, while those admitted to public facilities are treated free of charge. Testing of outbound passengers. These are the ones traveling out of the country. The Ministry of Health wishes to clarify that it is no longer working in partnership with the private laboratories that had set up at the Pino Beach. However, we have been informed that the laboratories, Safari Lab, Case Clinic, Test and Fly, and Same Day Lab, on their own initiative, entered into contracts with different airlines like Emirates, Air Uganda, Fly Dubai, Uganda Airlines, and Air Arabia to test outbound passengers within a timeline of 2 hours before departure. The private laboratories decided to hire Pino Beach as their venue for testing. Our new proposal, Right Honorable Speaker, today in our meeting, after having reviewed all the available information and noted that out of the 7,363 people tested, in 5 days, 34 tested positive. We resolved as follows. We shall allow travelers to go home and self-isolate after a sample has been removed. NITA-U will develop a tracking system within 2 days, that is tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, and make it available for tracking the on average 5 cases per day. Travelers will be required to provide adequate information for easy traceability. So from the 5th of November, travelers will be allowed to go home after testing. The ministry will strengthen the surveillance system and follow up of all the identified positive cases. In conclusion, allow me to appreciate the teams working at the airport, to appreciate those who have provided information, and to state clearly that we regret the inconvenience that has happened to the travelers. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and thank you for the report and the information that you've given the House. Yes. Can we start with Dr. Watua, who had a question that was pending?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. First and foremost, I wanted the Minister to speak about the capacity of testing, the number of gene expert machines, because the issue at the airport is about delays, and the critical factor, however much we make the electronic results transmission, the scanning, however much we make all those perfect, but for as long as the results which are in the kitchen are not coming out in time, consequently the subsequent processes will be delayed. So the Minister should speak about that, because I've borrowed the results of arrivals at Entebbe Airport of May to understand the numbers and maybe put it in perspective. The Minister has said the collection centers or the collection booths are 30. And it takes 5 minutes to collect samples from those 30 people. However, the arrivals in May in Entebbe Airport are 77,000. If you divide them by 30 to get the daily arrivals, you're talking of 2,500. If you divide those by 30, it means our capacity or scale of testing is still low. So I urge the minister to multiply the booths several times such that passengers take a very short time at the airport. Last but not least, I urge the minister to take a lead role, the ministers of health, to take a lead role in the fight against COVID. The policy about vaccination is to vaccinate all those above the age of 18. And from the minister's words, those people are 22 million. The doses of COVID we've received so far are about 7 million. And I'm told at most by the end of the year, we shall have 9 million doses. Given that each person takes 2 jabs, that takes care of 4.5 million people. Now, 4.5 getting vaccinated against the 22 million that should be vaccinated. Look at the situation we are getting into, where organizations are restricting Ugandans accessing their premises. Like the speaker said, the Ministry of Agriculture has already instituted a policy. If you're not vaccinated, you should not access that facility. The people we are condemning to those restrictions are 18 million, and not because they don't want. Yes, because when you talk of 9 million doses, even if you call them 10 million doses, and each Ugandan is taking 2 jabs, we are budgeting for 5 million Ugandans against 22. So meaning 18 million Ugandans are not going to get vaccinated, not because they don't want, but because the vaccines are not there. Come out and speak loudly about those restrictions, like what the Ministry of Agriculture is doing to restrict Ugandans accessing their premises. This will be replicated in other institutions. We've already heard of universities that are demanding that a student who is not vaccinated should not access a university premise. Come out strong on that. Soon we shall be hearing that the Ministry of Health, which should actually be at the forefront of making sure that everybody gets vaccinated, also issuing directives that if you're not vaccinated, I'm saying soon, yeah, but it is wrong to issue such directives right now. Ugandans are willing to get vaccinated, but the dose is not there. And finally, speak out. To what end are we demanding that for someone to access an institution should be vaccinated? Are we saying that a vaccinated person will not transmit COVID or doesn't contract COVID? We know that even when you're vaccinated, you contract COVID and you can still transmit it. Vaccination will help you to arrest the transitioning of the disease. You will not transition from mild or moderate to severe. So let us put at let us emphasize SOPs, masks, sanitizers, social distancing.
Honorable Batua, it is not wrong to give that directive. The vaccines are there. What we need is to make sure you as leaders encourage. Can you all sit down? What we are supposed to do is encourage our people to have them vaccinated. I was giving an example today. In my own office, I had 2 staff who were fearing to be vaccinated and said, no, for us, the people will die. And I said, you either choose to be vaccinated or you go away. Let's mobilize our people to be vaccinated. We are giving instructions, and I want to tell you as Parliament, like the instructions we've given, we'll stand by it, that people must come with the vaccination cards. And the rumor going around that we will not agree, there is leadership in Parliament. And it must be implemented. And the other thing, really, without politics aside, Jane, your minister has done a good job. Dr. Batu, I have not told you to talk. No. We have a team I secretly sent to the airport. I wanted them to assess what was in the airport. Honorable Elijah with the Chairman Tourism. You're there? Okay. Honorable Elijah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I want to thank the Minister of Health for the work they have done since the COVID started, but also from the day I raised this matter in this house here. Right Honorable Speaker, I think we need all first to applaud the Minister of Health. The challenges, circumstances under which they are working is immense. And given the directive the President gave that day, an order that the government takes over the testing immediately, I think posed a great challenge to the Minister of Health and the Civil Aviation, Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, we left here at 6 with the Committee of Trade and Tourism, headed by the Chair, Honorable Mpaka, with about 5-6 members, Honorable Aogon, the Shadow Minister for Trade and Tourism, and others. Right Honorable Speaker, when that directive was issued, it gave the Civil Aviation Authority with the Minister of Health a challenge of ensuring they make provisions for the testing booth. And yesterday when we went there, first I think we want to thank the team that provided the tents where the booth are. I can confirm that there are 30 booths testing where they collect samples from. There are 30, and we are told that they have 60 staff to handle the matter. Mr. Speaker, the only one of the things I want to disagree with the minister is about the collection of the samples, because we found some passengers who were there. The time for collection of the samples is not 5 minutes. It's more than that. And why is this so? It's because of the forms, filling of the forms. One, we have a challenge with internet at the airport. And this is where we need to hold NITA Uganda responsible, because the passengers who are supposed to have filled the forms from their place of abode, if the internet is bad at Entebbe, cannot fill. So when they arrive at the airport, then they must do the manual one. And that takes time, issuing those forms, and them signing, and then entering the data, and then the samples are picked. So it cannot be 5 minutes. The 5 minutes can only be the ideal time when everything is working normally. But for the passengers that we found there, they had that challenge. They had to fill the forms, and in the end, the average time was about 30 minutes. And it becomes a big challenge if that's the situation when more than one flight arrives. Imagine a flight like Emirates, KLM, that's big planes. If they arrive and they are carrying more than 300 passengers, and there are 2 planes, that's 600. How much time is that? You can calculate. So there's need, one, to increase on the number of booths for collecting the samples. But NITA must also up their game to provide faster 5G internet services at the airport. Why should it be probably we provided money to NITA for upgrading? What happened? They must tell us. Right Honorable Speaker, we're also taken through, because after the passengers are taken, as they get out from the plane, they're brought down, they go to pick the samples, then from there they come to immigration. From immigration, they are led to pick their cargo. Then from picking the cargo, they are taken up. If it has rained, there would be challenge. But at the moment, Civil Aviation Authority is erecting a canopy that leads them to climb up. And they are sharing a place for arrival and departures. But somehow they have tried to separate it. When they get in there, they have to wait. They have to wait at that point for their results, which are displayed on the screen. And then they go to the desk. But once we reach there, now, the honorable colleague who just left here raised the issue of the capacity for the machines, the capacity of those machines. The machines we found there, there are 5. There are 2 GenExpert GXV, which takes 16 samples at a go, we're told. There are 2. So which means, and it takes, we're told, it takes 2 to 2.5 hours to get the results. So those 2 multiplied by 2, that gives you 32. Then there are 3, the Biorad CFX 96. That takes 96 samples at a go. So if there are 3, you multiply that by 3. So that can only be one plane like Emirates if they have come. And if they are taking 2.5 hours, and there are 2-3 flights that have arrived, it can be a challenge. The minister should tell us whether there's a possibility, or there are machines that can take more than 96 samples at a go. And if they are there, if the money is not there, then Parliament must provide the money. But we're wondering why they brought the small ones, because these ones should have been really fit for the health center force, but not at the airport. But we understand the challenge they are facing given the time they were given. So that needs to be up the airport. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, we want to thank the government for reducing the fee from $65 to $30. The passengers are complaining. Why should now the private sectors who are also be charging people $65 for testing, yet at the airport government is providing $30? I think the private providers who are $5, the airport must also deal with that. There was also a challenge that we got to know, which the minister should tell us here, because those who were saying they paid money by mobile payments, that the money went to a mobile number which is registered in the person's name. So we need that clarification of whether that's true, so that the country gets to know whether that's true or not. So you need to clarify on that, Honorable Minister. But amidst all these challenges, Right Honorable Speaker, we saw an improvement yesterday when we were there. There was an improvement, and which we want to thank you for. And we take the apologies that you have given here, that there were challenges, that's why those issues. So we are not lying, we're right to raise the issues here, Madam Speaker, such that we get a better service. These tourists are not discouraged from coming to this country, and the economy gets affected. So, Right Honorable Speaker, my colleagues will add what I may have left out from that submission. Thank you, Right Honorable
Thank
Speaker.
you, Honorable Elijah. Of course, in every new system, there are always challenges. And we appreciate what the ministry is going through. Honorable Nifa, you leave that discussion for now. In every system, new system, there are challenges. But we are impressed that we are improving. And we also want the monies that is being paid to go to government, not to go to private investors, because it would help us as government. So we want the money to go to government. And what you need to do is to improve on the time of collection and then delivery of results. And ICT should also improve on the issue of internet for it to work better, and increase the number of both collection centers. Honorable Medi, then PP.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for giving information to this House, because this House since last week was yearning for answers. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, yes, we can be told that systems have improved, and that's what we all want, because Uganda depends on tourism partly to raise her revenues. But we need statistics of the number of imported cases since testing began. How many imported cases have you gotten? So that we assess the relevance as to whether it's still necessary not to trust the PCR results that other countries are sending us here. Because the basis of that is that we do not partially agree with the PCR results from those countries. And I can tell you, if you do it sui generis, it happens that there is reciprocation. When we do it to citizens of other nations coming into this country, it's the same way we shall be treated. That will mean I test on departure from this country through private means, and I'll be subjected to other tests. Now, this increases the cost of my budgets for travel. It creates inconvenience. Before you know, we shall even be told to quarantine. Right Honorable Speaker, we are suffering very many things because of diplomatic reciprocation. I can give you an example, and honorable members, you've all been here. I don't want to digress. There is an issue between Uganda and the United States of America on the issue of visa. In East Africa, many of other citizens are given more than 5 years. When we asked them this question, they said, you give us 6 months because you're more interested in money. That's why we give your counterparts 10 years. For you, you're more interested in visa money. You don't look at the broader picture that when a tourist comes in regularly without being asked for money, they spend more. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, coming back to health, it's the same. Lumping up countries and subjecting them to the same will attract us the same repercussion wherever we go, which will increase our cost of travel and inconvenience. Now, what we want, yes, we want to keep our country clean, and we have no problem. We understand the measures so far you've introduced, but is it still necessary? And what should inform that is the stats that you must give us, the data, that out of the people that were entering this country, amongst those we've checked, we've picked out 0.5%. Out of, for example, the 10,000 tourists or people that were returning, those that came in and after checking, we discovered about 100%, so that we find out whether it is still necessary anymore to impose tests at the border posts. Right, Honorable Speaker, that is why we prefer that we be moved by data, so that someone comes here and gives us statistics, so that we come up with an informed view that yes, we need to advise government and the President of this Republic that based on the statistics, now it's still necessary or unnecessary. Because already we have porous borders between Uganda and Kenya, Uganda and Congo, Uganda and South Sudan. So how do we monitor that? We are therefore only relying on data of people who have to fly into the country. Now, what of the porous borders, porous border crossings where people just walk in? Buses. So even if you say the cost is going down, that is not the issue. The inconvenience, the cost of the inconvenience, someone thinks twice. Why should I go to Uganda and be subjected to this rigorous process? If we could do the rapid testing, yes, it has 60% compliance that, it might not be right or false, but let that be backed up by the data. Otherwise, the issue of internet is a nightmare. Public facilities in this country do not have fast, reliable, and functional internet. Therefore, telling someone traveling from another country to register online and they reach here and they cannot even perfect payments is also a cause of another nightmare. I think this is the first impression we give to people, Right Honorable Speaker, that enter into our country. That is the face of our country. How do you treat your guests or returning residents? That is what shall inform our decision. In my opinion, Right Honorable Speaker, we seek clarification from the Honorable Minister about the empirical data. Give us the data and we shall give you our decision. Thank you.
Members,
Yes.
how I wish when you're talking about, you don't repeat what has already been said. Let's bring in fresh ideas to help the ministry perform. And when we talk about the quantitative analysis, I had the minister talking about the figures from the time, and I thought that was qualitative enough. And we did not ask about what is happening in the borders aside. Maybe we shall now ask the minister to find out for us what is happening in the porous, all those other borders. And of course, first impression is lasting, but we must also protect our Ugandans. They should not just bring corona anyhow. Santa, is that Santa?
You say PP.
PP, okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me thank the Minister for this report. Although I want to agree with my colleague that you need to do a little bit of some planning and, thinking how you should be able to execute
what you have planned for. I recently traveled, and then when I came back, my sample was taken. That was on Friday. Madam Minister, you said 45 hours, 45 minutes, the results should have come out. I'm still waiting for my results up to now. They took my phone, took my email. So I don't know whether I'm positive or negative. Yeah, no, I'm honest about it. I just have to be honest. It's not a joke, because now that's why I'm saying we should do some planning about it, some thinking. Because if I'm positive, then the entire parliament here, Madam Speaker, we are at a risk. So I'm just talking about the inefficiency at the airport. Why should the result take almost 4 days to come out? Why should it take 4 to 5 days? And then you take and you release the people. The travelers are released to go, and all this information now comes after. So are you really doing a good service to this country? I don't think. Maybe there's some, some capacity that is supposed to be improved, as members have been saying. So let's think about the information. Yes, information.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For point of information, I too took a test I think on Friday. Now, today is Tuesday. I do not know whether I'm positive or negative. So, basically, this information of checking is not reliable because we don't have results. So I don't know how you're going to go about that.
So, Madam Speaker, further information?
Madam Speaker, when Honorable Pipi Okin talked about he was tested, but the results wasn't given to him up to today, I want to give another information. When I came back from Dubai, for me, I was not tested. I was only tested from Dubai when I was coming here. When I reached Uganda, I wasn't tested. I just came like that. Up to now.
You dodged the test.
So that is the situation we are talking about now.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, thank you for that information. In conclusion, Madam Speaker.
My name is Sylvia.
In conclusion, I thought they were just given information.
For you now, you have given your time.
By the Speaker.
Sylvia.
Thank you, Right Honorable. My name is Sylvia Bahireira Tumwekwase, and I represent the people of Kamwenge District in this House. I would like to thank the great job being done by the Ministry of Health to control COVID, because we have managed to be one of the best in the region in controlling COVID. We thank you so much. And we even thank you for the efforts you are putting in place to restrict access of some places based on vaccination status. Because COVID is about life and death, we can't just play around with it. But Madam Speaker, I'd like to bring to the attention of the House, and also specifically to the Minister of Health and her team, that we have seen situations where members of Parliament negotiate for subsidy of the COVID test. They negotiate that the cost be subsidized for them because it is high. Now you can imagine when a member of Parliament reaches that extent of crying that 250,000 is a lot, it means at the airport when going to fly or coming back, it means that our fellow Ugandans out there, it is very, very expensive for them. Well, we appreciate, Madam Speaker, that we are in a free market economy, but we kindly request that when it comes to social services, especially in emergency situations, the government should come in, the Ministry of Health should come in and regulate payments for these services. Otherwise, Ugandans are being squeezed so much That money is too much. I thank
Honorable
you.
Elijah, that is a maiden speech. So you don't put somebody on a maiden speech to order.
Thank you very much.
Members, Brenda.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me time. I want to thank the Minister for our information to the House. And I also want to thank her efforts for really ameliorating the condition that we saw at the airport and the improvements that have so far been done. Right Honorable Speaker, my observation is only one around the harmonization of COVID policies across Africa. Recently, I had the privilege to travel to South Africa on a business visit. And I took a test from here. I flew to South Africa. They just asked for the COVID results, which I provided at the airport. And I was allowed to travel, to enter into the country. When I was returning, I did another COVID test, and then I traveled the following day, and I was all negative. The question is, in line with what the honorable member raised before, around reciprocity of actions. Before COVID, Right Honorable Speaker, tourism was our #1 revenue earner, and recently overtaken by gold. Now, if we provide these kind of policies, of course there will be an inconvenience of the visitors coming here. They're bringing us money. The only thing that we can do is harmonize our policies under the AU. Secondly, we can only be efficient if we have to protect ourselves against the COVID. So I would like to hear from the Minister what policy frameworks she is working around with the fellow ministers across the continent. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I take this opportunity to thank the Minister for the great initiative in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. Right Honorable Minister, I'd like to interest you to take keen interest in preserving the integrity of the testing process, lest we risk being dubbed inconsistent. On the 5th of October of this year, having taken a PCR test 48 hours before getting to the airport, I did a rapid test, and from one testing point, I had 2 results, both negative and positive. I was advised by the authorities not to travel because they were not sure which results were accurate. On insistence, they cancelled the positive results and handed me the negative ones. Surprisingly, when I went into the office of the officer at the clinic at the airport, there were several other people from different nationalities who had the same challenge. Honourable Minister, now that the Ministry of Health has come to the airport to take responsibility, I kindly beg you to interest yourself in the integrity of the whole process. Otherwise, we shall risk a lot. Thank you.
Martin.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. For the record, Muzale Martini, MP Vizaya. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to begin by thanking the Minister for the report. But Right Honourable Speaker, what is so unfortunate is that we are picking a lot of information from our colleagues that is different from the position of the minister. The minister says it takes 45 minutes. The colleagues are saying they have spent about 4 or 5 days. They have not yet received their results. Right, Honorable Speaker, in view of that, I find myself a little bit, one is whether I should take the information of the minister or the information of the colleagues. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think it's important that you interest yourself in this matter so that we find the rightful information in regard to this. Right, Honorable Speaker, we are today focusing at the Civil Aviation Authority, the entry point, which is normally at the airport. But we have also other borders. I want to request that the ministry also takes interest in monitoring those other borders. I thank you, Right Honorable.
And actually, that's what I was saying. Don't repeat what has been said. I had already made a ruling to that effect. And maybe, Honorable PP, where did the PP test from? Okay, it is not you tested. Jessica?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, protection of lives is so expensive. For me, my opinion is we must do all what it takes to keep Ugandans safe and any other person. Therefore, my proposal will be our ministry and government should look at the time over which people have complaints. If we can reduce on the duration, even if it were me to go outside the country and I get tested, in order to save Ugandans and myself, that is worthy. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, I pray that our ministry gets help so that we don't take too much time, but we keep steadily testing people when we are going and coming out. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Jen?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to join colleagues to thank the Minister for the report and to thank the Ministry of Health for all efforts being made to control and manage COVID-19. However, Right Honorable Speaker, today, this afternoon, the Prime Minister told us the budget cuts are so because the economy is not performing well. Right Honorable Speaker, premised on that, I would pray to the Minister of Health and her team that we are going soon to the festive season, and therefore we shall have influx of tourists, business people wanting to do business. And we are already very hopeful that come January, the country will be fully opened. And that's why I support that testing should be done at the airport. But can it be done in a shorter period than 45 minutes? Imagine I flew in, or an investor flew in for business and would like to have a quick meeting in Kampala and travel back wherever. I feel that 45 minutes is still long, Right Honorable Speaker. Because the economy has to open, because we have to move with businesses, I would request that the period be reduced, but all efforts continue to ensure that we are prepared to reopen the economy come January. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, thank you. So thank you, my colleague, for your information. Madam Speaker, I would like to inform the August House that according to what my colleague is submitting, truly testing, even to enter Kenya from Busia, you must be tested. But what challenges is that the cost of testing in Uganda is very, very expensive compared to all countries in East Africa. I therefore would like to inform I therefore like to inform the Minister of Health that, Madam Minister, the cost of testing in the neighboring countries is cheap because they have not left the testing in the hands of private companies like what is done here. An airline company has no authority to condition a country to take over the testing with all the money that government has given to the Ministry of Health. Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker.
Rita.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I add my voice to commend the Minister of Health for all the efforts they have put to make us stay safe. I was part of the team that visited the airport last evening. But Right Honorable Speaker, one of the salient issues that even when we address all these challenges, if not addressed, we shall continue to see people at the airport complain is the categorization of what a tourist is. To the Ministry of Health and the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, they only consider tourists that come through registered tour companies. And believe you or me, Ugandans have taken on their cardinal role to market their country, to invite their friends and relatives to come into Uganda to be able to spend money here. So if they do not address that aspect, you don't get surprised that people who would stay longer at the airport that have come here for tourism purposes would still complain. So my prayer is that the Ministry of Health should take effort to take more data, that whoever is coming here for any business must not stay long at the airport, because we are all guests and we are all marketing Uganda. Lastly, Madam Speaker, the issue about the timing. I want to affirm what Honorable Elijah has submitted is the truth, nothing but the truth. We interviewed the laboratory technicians, and this is what they had to say. The fastest machine produces in 1.5 hours. The second one produces in 2.5 hours. So if, Madam Honorable Acheng, you have done a wonderful job, do not hesitate to ask for money if we are going to use tourism as a mechanism to revamp our economy, to get the fastest and the heavy testing machines. We want this money, we want jobs. So that is my prayer, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronald Nakawa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Balimwezo Ronald Nsuga, Member of Parliament for Nakawa East constituency. I was so much perturbed when basically I read about what happened at the airport. But taking into consideration what Dr. Batwa said, if you compare the number of people that came in, for example, in May, and divided with the number of days in a month, and multiplied, you will get basically 2,300 people per day. And if you trickle it down and calculate the number of minutes that the 2,300 will require, it is too much time. And therefore, I request that we increase the number of booths so that we can basically speed up the process. On the other hand, Right Honorable Speaker, I am saying this in good faith. Today, I was called by my people at one of the centers where immunization is taking place. And there were about 300 people, but they were only given 70 immunization cards and 70 jabs. So the people, basically we have mobilized the people, but the jabs are not available. And I want to ask the minister, why aren't the jabs available? And yet we are basically given about 12 million jabs. The other thing is that the people administering the jabs, they are complaining heavily. Recently, I met quite a number of them because majority of them are private, are from private medical facilities. And they are complaining, they are only given 5,000, then 5,000 for transport. This is too small. I pray that we increase that amount so that we can basically entice them to immunize our people at goodwill. Thank you so much.
Mapendusi. Mapendusi. Santa Mapendusi, then you will clarify.
Right Honorable Speaker, first of all, I want to thank the Honorable Minister for every effort she's making together with her team. It's important to note that the Honorable Minister has tried so much during this difficult period to do what it takes to save the lives of Ugandans. And I want to thank you, Honorable Minister. Right Honorable Speaker, a few days ago, and started last week, we saw on different social media platforms very disturbing video clips sending a very wrong image of the country, where foreigners very bitterly telling very painful stories of how they are being treated at Entebbe Airport. I know there are efforts being made to attract people to come and invest in this country, but also to attract tourists to come. We talk about the impact of COVID in as far as the economy is concerned, and we talk about trying, even within the difficult period, to attract people. But as long as we don't build systems that function well, Right Honorable Speaker, I think the Honorable Minister, much as you are trying your best to put systems that work, to improve on how things are done, there is a culture that has been built at that airport that needs to be fully checked. And that culture, I'm sure you recall, when you appeared before the COVID task force, I made mention of a very disturbing experience. When a team of visitors came from the US,